Mhm. Well, hi everyone, welcome, and thank you all for being here. Thank you for supporting me in finalizing the Capstone project and completing the PIDP program. And as usual, let's start our program with the land acknowledgement. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm based in Coquitlam and it is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Coast Salish nations, of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam people. I'm so grateful to the indigenous people of this area for their stewardship and care of this land because I love mountains and they they actually gave us the chance to enjoy this beautiful land where I live, work, and enjoy. And I'd like to give high-level information regarding the background of this session. It's actually a part of a course, and the main course focuses on value creation. Because today, many projects still struggle in creating value, not because people lack tools or methodologies, but because we don't always focus on what really matters. This main course is structured into three modules. In the first module, we focus on designing value-driven projects, especially in complex and changing environments. And almost all projects, today, all projects we manage are complex. There aren't any simple projects anymore. And in the second module, we shift to the human side, leading change and working with people through uncertainty. And in the third, we explore how AI is reshaping projects and teams. So that's the structure of the main course. And today's session is only a part of module one. And we'll focus on a very fundamental question. Are we really creating value with our projects? Or are we just delivering outputs? And before we go further, let's also quickly look at what we aim to achieve in this session. By the end of this session, you will be able to clearly distinguish between outputs, outcomes, and impact. There are three main components of a project. This is a key concept, and we'll spend some time making sure it really makes sense in practice. You will also be able to explain why focusing only on outputs is not enough, especially in today's VUCA environment. I'll explain this VUCA concept as well in this session. We'll then move into defining project value, not just from one perspective, but from multiple stakeholder perspectives. And finally, you'll have a chance to analyze simple scenarios and identify what is output, what is outcome, and what is real value. And before we start, if it is okay for you, let's take a few minutes to get to know each other. Since we're a small group, I'd like to invite you to briefly introduce yourself. Please share your name, your role, what you're doing for the time being, or any project experience, and only one expectation from this lesson, from this session. You can keep it short, around 30 seconds each. Let me start first to give an example. My name is Dogan. I'm a mechanical engineer and I'm a project manager. And I have project management experience. And my main expectation from this course is actually, this session is actually to create value on your side and to let you understand what is value in the context of project management. So that's simple. So who would like to go next? Or let me ask first Ersun actually to start. And
Sure. Well,
after finalizing your part, please send the ball to another person. You choose the person.
sure. No worries, no worries. Well, my background is I'm a graphic designer. Simply, but I'm working in the film industry here, and then also I work in the film industry as a captain, transport captain. So simply, every project, every production is a project for me. So basically, whatever you're giving me, like I'm just gonna take it and I'm gonna use as experience and for my uh, uh, future projects. So that's what I'm here for,
Mhm. Thank
and
you.
that's all. Yasin.
Okay, just a second. I'm just opened my camera. Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. I am outside with my kids. My name is Yasin Çetinda. I work in a furniture company as a CAD designer. I hope the next year I will be a project manager about my job. It is
Great.
my expectation. Actually, I am in a test right now because my boss is pushing me to being a project manager. And that's it.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So to throw the ball to a person.
Oh, just a second. I'm gonna choose one of them. Let me see the persons. Okay, and Mehmetcan, please, the next person.
This is Mehmetcan. I'm hydrologist, working in the mining industry as a consultant. I recently become a senior consultant,
Mhm.
so I'm looking forward to hear about your experiences on project management as my new task is to more like manage the project and more junior stuff. So thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much, Mehmetcan. And the last person is actually Oya. Yes, let's hear from you, Oya.
Okay. Hi, everybody. And I am Oya. I'm English instructor. Um, and the reason to join this meeting, I want to get information how we can create the value in our life and with project regarding our jobs. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Oya. Actually, yeah, you highlighted an important point. Whenever we start talking over projects, always we relate it with business, but actually our life is also a project. So I strongly believe that
Yeah,
having a business experience, business management experience also helps our private lives because there are lots of projects ongoing on our in our lives. Thank you so much, all of you.
thank you.
Yeah. So let me also talk a little bit over this session. In this session, the idea is actually to create space for you to think, reflect, and share your perspectives. So we will move through three main parts. First, we will look at the problem of output focused thinking. That's a big problem in project management still. What it is and why it can be limiting. Then we'll shift into the VUCA contexts and explore how we define project value in today's environment. And finally, we'll close with a consolidation and reflection where we bring the key ideas together. So, overall, this session is not just about concepts, but about how you interpret and make sense of them. Before we start, do you have any questions about the session, about the flow, anything?
No.
I don't have any.
I don't have any question. Please
Okay.
keep on moving. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So let's get started. And I'd like to start with a simple question, and I'm going to launch a quick poll. I will use the Zoom poll. What do you think is the role of projects in the business ecosystem? Please select the one option that best reflects your view. There is no right or wrong answer here. Just choose one of them. Let me share the poll here. This one. Yeah, launch. To your understanding, what is the role of projects in the business ecosystem? Let me wait for some more time. May I end the poll where you received? Yep. So let me end the poll and let me share the results. So I'm also checking the outcome. The majority of us have chosen complete initiatives on time, within budget and scope. That's correct. I mean, nothing wrong with it. But if whenever the main focus is on completing a project within the scope, within the budget, within the time, then it creates problem in our today's world, in our complex world. So, I mean, all the answers are okay. Support strategy and achieve strategic objectives. Certainly, it's also a correct one. So let's dive into those topics and let's explore this topic. So projects are not just about delivering. May I? Yeah. Projects are not just about the projects are about creating value. And if we step back and look at the bigger picture, projects are the primary way organizations execute strategy and create value. And they're not just about delivering something. So they're about turning ideas into real outcomes. Certainly, projects help us translate business goals into tangible results. They enable change and transformation. They create value through projects, products, services, or capabilities. And also, they help organizations stay competitive in this dynamic environment. So in that sense, projects sit right at the center of the business ecosystem. And this brings us to an important question. If projects play such a critical role in creating value, why do so many still fail to deliver real value? So let's explore that. So this leads us to part one in our session. So let's move into the core challenge. If we look at this simple flow, we can see three main levels: outputs, outcomes, and impact. Outputs are the immediate deliverables. We complete the tasks, the things we produce. So these are create the outputs. However, outcomes are what those outputs actually change in our organizations, how customers or users are affected. And impact is the broader effect on the organization or even beyond the organization. And in reality, many projects focus heavily on outputs. We track, of course, tasks. We measure deliverables. We check if things are completed. But we do not always ask, are these outputs actually creating the outcomes we want? And more importantly, are they generating real value or impact? And this is where the problem begins. So here, I'd like to ask another question to check our understanding. I'm going to launch another quick poll. Which of the following correctly defines outputs, outcomes, and impact? Please select the one option you think is more accurate. The poll is anonymous, so just be comfortable in selecting your choice. So I'll wait for approximately 10 or 15 seconds. So let me initiate the second poll. So what is your choice? Yeah, three of us has already responded. Yeah. Well, here is the outcome. We have one response regarding the outputs. Outputs are the main measure of success. Majority of the organizations take it in that way. So that is the challenge actually. And outputs are deliverables. Outcomes are the changes they create, and impact is the long-term effect. So this is the accurate definition. So outputs are only the deliverables, what the project produces. However, outcomes are the changes created by those outputs. And impact is the broader long-term effect of those changes. So it's not just about what we deliver, it's about what changes and what value is ultimately created. And I mean, focusing on output is actually very common, and many organizations operate with this kind of confusion. Now, let's place these concepts into the bigger picture. This may be a little bit complex picture, but let me take this one out. Yeah, a bit complex picture, so I'll explain it in a very simple way. At the beginning, we have strategy, and organizations define their goals, their direction, and what kind of value they want to create. Then come projects and initiatives. This is where ideas start turning into action. And through these activities, we produce outputs, the deliverables, the things we build or implement. But outputs alone are not enough. What really matters is what happens next. Those outputs should lead to outcomes. They should create change. They should affect customers, users, or processes. And if those outcomes are meaningful, they eventually lead to impact real value at the organizational level. So we have actually a chain from activities to outputs to outcomes and finally to impact. Now, here is the question. Where do you think the most organizations tend to stop in this chain? And we already talked about it actually. It's very often we stop at outputs. And that's exactly the problem we are exploring in this session. Let's look at this from another perspective to make it even clearer. At the very beginning, we have inputs and activities. These are the resources we use and the work we do. But what we usually focus on is this part, the output. This is what we deliver. Now, the key question is, what happens after we deliver? If the output is used effectively, it leads to outcomes. That means something changes. For example, a process improves, a customer experience gets better, something actually shifts. And if those outcomes are meaningful, they create impact. That's the real value. The reason why the project exists in this first place. So we can think of this in a very simple way. Outputs are what we deliver. Outcomes are what changes. Impact is why it matters. And the problem is many projects stop at what we deliver without fully understanding what changes and why it matters. Until this time, the things that I have explained, are there any reflections on your side, any insights, any similarities that you have already experienced in your business career? For example, experienced a project that didn't create value or similar cases, any experience? If not, I'll continue with a short video, but I noticed that I haven't clicked the related buttons to share the sound of the video. So let me correct it. Let me stop sharing the video, sharing my presentation and sharing it once more with the share sound options. Sorry for that interruption. Yeah. Yes. So I'd like to share a short story with you. This is Ernesto Strolli, an Italian guy, a funny guy. I think you'll love his talk. He's spent many years working on development projects in different parts of the world. And in this short talk, he reflects on why many well-intentioned projects fail. And he shares very simple but powerful insights. The first step should be to listen to the people you're trying to help. As you listen to his story, think about what we discussed earlier: outputs, outcomes, and value. And in particular, who was really involved and who was not. Before continuing, I'd like to introduce another concept. So let's briefly look at another concept, the project stakeholder management. A stakeholder is any individual, group, or organization that can affect or be affected by a project or its outcomes. In other words, stakeholders are the people who experience the results of what we do. This is a very important concept in project management, and whenever we start any project, one of the first actions should be taken is listing the critical stakeholders, key stakeholders. So that is always the first step. So as you watch the video, I'd like you to think about one question. Who are the key stakeholders in this story? And even more importantly, whose voices are missing? So let's watch the video and then talk it over.
Everything I do and everything I do professionally, my life has been shaped by 7 years of work as a young man in Africa. From 1971 to 1977, I look young, but I'm not. I worked in Zambia, Kenya, Ivory Coast, Algeria, Somalia, in projects of technical cooperation with African countries. I worked for an Italian NGO. And every single project that we set up in Africa failed. And I was distraught. I thought, age 21, that we Italians were good people and we were doing good work in Africa. Instead, everything we touched, we killed. Our first project, the one that has inspired my first book, Ripples from the Zambezi, was a project where we Italians decided to teach Zambian people how to grow food. So we arrived there with Italian seeds in southern Zambia, in this absolutely magnificent valley, going down to the Zambezi River, and we taught the local people how to grow Italian tomatoes and zucchini. And of course, the local people had absolutely no interest in doing that, so we paid them to come and work, and sometimes they would show up. And we were amazed that the local people in such fertile valley would not have any agriculture. But instead of asking them how come they were not growing anything, we simply said, thank God we're here. Just in the nick of time to save the Zambian people from starvation. And of course, everything in Africa grew beautifully, and we had these magnificent tomatoes. In Italy, a tomato would grow to this size, in Zambia to this size. And we could not believe. And we were telling the Zambians, look how easy agriculture is. When the tomatoes were nice and ripe and red, overnight, some 200 hippos came out from the river and they ate everything. And we said to the Zambians, my God, the hippos! And the Zambians said, yes, that's why we have no agriculture here. Why didn't you tell us? You never asked.
So, this is a funny story, but a tragic story in a similar way. So what stood out to you? What went wrong in this project? And how is that related to stakeholders? Any comments from any of you? Yeah, the stakeholder concept was missing actually. I mean, as I told you before, before watching the video, when I was explaining the stakeholder concept, this is a very important topic, and every project has has main stages. I mean, the initiation phase, planning phase, execution phase, and closing phase. There's also a monitoring and controlling phase as well. But in the initiation phase, the first thing is actually, of course, shaking hands with the customers. I mean, what they actually look for from the project, what are their expectations. But even for asking that question, you have to clarify the right stakeholder. Who is the key stakeholder in this project? So you have to ask the right question to the right people. And the only way to do that is actually knowing your stakeholders. Who are they? So in this video, their main stakeholder is actually the Zambian people. They want to create value on their side, but they were working on the wrong output. That was not their expectation, the Zambian people expectation. So they did not ask them their expectation. So that was the main problem. And if you're interested in the video, it is available in the on the internet, so you can easily find it when you look for it by Ernesto Cirolli, his TED talk. This was not only valid for Italian people. I mean, he mentions it in his talk. It was valid for French people, Americans, all the people coming from outside to there. So that these are tragic cases actually. So having discussed this, then this takes us to the next topic. So far we have seen that many projects focus on outputs but struggle to create real value. Now let's take a step back and look at the environment in which projects operate today. We don't work in stable, predictable conditions anymore. We live in what is often called a VUCA world. Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. And in this environment makes everything we discussed earlier even more challenging. Understanding stakeholder needs becomes harder, defining outcomes becomes less clear, and creating value becomes more uncertain. So let's explore this further. And this leads us to our last poll, poll 3. So how familiar are you with the VUCA concept? So let me ask you this. Let me initiate that poll as well. Yeah. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. One of us has never heard of it. Yep. Okay, it's good. Then I'll have the opportunity to explain what it is. So here is the result. The majority of us actually have less familiar with the VUCA concept. So let's go with it. In today's environment, change and transformation are no longer simple. We operate in what we call a VUCA world, where things change quickly and hard to predict. And they are often interconnected. So this makes project work much more challenging. Defining clear outcomes becomes harder. Understanding stakeholders becomes more complex. And creating value becomes less predictable. And that's why we need a different way of thinking about projects. So let's briefly break down what VUCA actually means. Volatility means things change rapidly. For example, market conditions or customer needs can shift quickly. Uncertainty means we cannot fully predict what will happen. We may have information, but not enough to make confident decisions. And complexity means there are many interconnected factors. A change in one area can affect many others. And ambiguity means situations are not always clear. We may not even know what the real problem is. So in this kind of environment, focusing only on outputs is not enough. We need to think more about outcomes and value. And this is exactly why projects that focus only on outputs often struggle to deliver real value in a VUCA world. Now I've designed a breakout discussion. So in this breakout discussion, it will be a short discussion, I mean, 3 or 4 minutes in the breakout room, and then we will come back to the main room. And I'd like to reflect on your own experience in your breakout room. Please discuss 2 questions. What defines project success? How do you define success in projects? And you'll have only 5 minutes. And after the breakout room, we'll come together. So let me organize the breakout rooms. Two breakout rooms. And after 5 minutes, you'll be coming back from the breakout room. You can join to, yeah.
Or we call labor. And then usually that we are looking for a certain amount of manpower that we have to finish in a successfully that project without no damaging or all that stuff. So that's very important. And
Yeah.
then and also this is going to affect into unexpected actually expenses or all that stuff. So I have to make sure that my team is created in a certain people that I have to trust them to do the job properly. And so that's going to be that I'm going to be the avoiding actually those unexpected expenses. So it is very stressful once in a while, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's stressful.
Pretty stressful, yeah. So anyways, so not many people actually really look into in a management team. They're just gonna labor. They don't care about the management. They don't care about the actual project. They just be there for just the paychecks. But myself, like that's being
Yeah.
trusted with the the CEOs or the coordinators. So I have to done that project in a successfully for my reputation. I was just gonna say that way.
Yeah, I see. I agree. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, that's all about us.
So you're discussing the definition of success.
Uh,
Or
Yeah.
yeah,
how do you do that's the actually question. So I'll go to the other room as well. How do you define success when you're dealing in a project? So that's the please focus on that one. You have only 1.5 minutes actually. I'm leaving your your room.
Okay.
Sir, we're talking earlier that facts and problems, all that stuff. We didn't really focusing the what could be the success, but
But defense project success, yeah.
yeah, well,
Has this changed over time? Why?
Yeah, the in in 18 seconds it will be closed.
I don't know. I don't know what to say more.
Yep. So we're again back in the main room. So any insights, any comments, any insights regarding your discussion in the breakout room? How would you define success in a project? I mean, the traditional aspect is actually just mentioning the uh, scope, cost, and schedule success. Like the one over here this is the iron triangle of project management. Sometimes we define it as golden triangle of project management. Time, cost, or scope. If, for example, a project is delivered on time, within budget, and within scope, we tend to call it successful. And for a long time, this has been the dominant way of measuring success. But here is the question: is that really enough? Does delivering on time and budget guarantee that the project creates value? So that's the question. Let me share a real example from the real world. I'm sure you all know this building. This is the Sydney Opera House. For example, would you consider this project a success story? What's your idea?
I mean, I would say kind of yes, because that became iconic. And then, so I was just gonna say yes, because of time being, this became totally iconic. That I would say, but I don't have any idea about the labor costs, material costs, and timeline, and all that stuff. And I have no idea. But other than that, like, is it just a kind of, like, it's just a person, like, it's just an iconic place that as soon as when anyone else see that, then is going to say, oh yeah, this is Sydney.
Yeah. So in that sense, actually, that was the main idea in 1957 to start to initiate this project, because I mean, Sydney had nothing special to use it to market the Sydney or Australia. So they decided to initiate a project that they can use the output of that project, that can use it for marketing Sydney. So that has to be a very iconic structure. So that was the intention actually of the project.
Yeah, same thing. Dubai also.
Yep,
What was that
exactly.
hotel name? Burj Al Arab, the El Burj
Yes.
Al. That's the
Yep.
exact same thing. So
Burj Khalifa, I guess. It
yes,
was,
I don't know exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
something like that.
Yep.
Also, Las Vegas, same thing. The whole Nevada is actually turned to a desert, but
Yep.
they turned to a lots of actually hotels, all that stuff. Yeah, people does those things.
So in that sense, this building served the high level expectation. So we can say it as a successful project. But however, when I share this aspect with you, then how would you comment on this this aspect? I mean, can you imagine it? I mean, you foresee a budget of $7 million, and at the end, it costs $102 million, and they were out of budget, and they organized a national lottery to finance this project. So it was a very challenging case. So
Wow.
certainly, yeah, it was a very challenging project. It took, I mean, 16 years to finalize the project. So from a traditional project management perspective, time, cost, scope, this project is a disaster actually. Was not successful. But yet today, Sydney Opera House is one of the most iconic buildings in the world. So it
Yeah.
served the expectations. It creates enormous cultural, social, and economic value for Sydney, for Australia. So now the question is, was this project a failure or a success?
Uh, I was just gonna say unintentionally success,
Yeah.
because 102 mil in a 16 years in a 1973, it's 102 mil in the 1973 is a chunk of money.
Yes, exactly.
What is a time being where we are 2026, it's a long time, so that's why just I guess it's paid off.
Yeah.
102 mil is already paid
Yeah.
off.
Well, today nobody remembers that actual cost or the duration. I mean, they mainly focus on the value it creates.
Yeah.
So that's why we have to evaluate the success issue or the value issue from another perspective as well in the context of project management. So traditionally, we define project management success based on efficiency. Did we deliver on time? Did we stay within budget? Did we meet the defined scope? But that only tells us how well we executed the project. It does not tell us whether the project created value. So that's where product or outcome success comes in. Did the project achieve the desired outcomes? Did it meet real needs? Did it create value? So a project can be well managed but still fail to create value. For example, a system delivered perfectly, excellent project management, time, on schedule, but it is not used by the customers. So can we call it as a success? No, it's not.
No.
Or a feature built on time within budget, but not solving a real problem. So success in delivery does not always mean success in value. And on the other hand, a project may struggle in execution, but still create significant impact, like the one in Sydney Opera House. And it's one of the very popular projects in the world. Lots of interesting stories in this project. We do not have time to go over it. Only Sydney Opera House may be a topic of a one session. So it's a very interesting story. And this is exactly why we need to shift our focus from outputs to outcomes and value. So this topic finalizes part 2, and we move to part 3. So let's briefly reflect on what we've explored and what it means for your practice. So let me summarize a few key takeaways. First, projects are not just about delivering outputs. They are about creating value. Second, there is a clear difference between outputs, outcomes, and impact. And third, a project can be successful in execution, but still fail to deliver value. And finally, value is always defined from a stakeholder perspective. So before closing, I'd like to leave you with one final question. Thinking about what we've just discussed today, what is one key insight you're taking away from this session? It could be something that changed your perspective or something you might apply in the future. Take a few seconds to think about it. And if you wish, you would like to share it, I'd be happy to hear it. If not, then I'll close our session with a short story. Again, a well-known story in Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland, Alice asks the Cheshire Cat, "Which way should I go?" And the cat replies, "That depends on where you want to get to." Alice says she doesn't really care. And the cat responds, "Then it doesn't matter which way you go." And this is exactly the point. If we are not clear about the value we want to create, if we don't define meaningful outcomes, then delivering projects successfully does not really matter. Because we may end up going in the wrong direction. So the real question is not, are we delivering projects successfully, but are we creating the right value? So this was the final slide of my presentation. Thank you very much for attending this session and supporting me in my Capstone projects.
Well, thank you very much for having us and then sharing valuable details. And appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Thank you so much for inviting us. Thank you.
Thank you
It
very
was a
much
good session.
for
Yeah.
attending the session.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I'll stop recording.